Hi everyone. I wanted to take a look at how I created this gun, specifically now the just design part. Even though I have to say I'm not a designer, but I do like exploring different techniques, so that might be helpful for some of you. So the very first thing is quite obviously gathering some references. And I just grabbed a bunch of random ones. I knew that I wanted it to be a handgun, so I'm not going to go and look for really big guns, even though I have a few bigger ones, but it's more for just different details, different shapes is what I'm looking for. So it's just to get inspired, nothing to really copy from these or anything. It's quite literally, I want to see how different artists approach it. So you'll see most of my reference images are somebody else's designs. So it's really important that I don't just pick up and copy. I want to create my own. And then once I have a bit of an idea of what I want, I'll move on into Blender. Now if I just hide these guys, because these are a new one I'm trying to make. The specific one was just this. You see the kind of the almost final design in here. So I'll just start with very simple shapes, because the only thing I want to do is to find a beautiful silhouette. If I look in orthographic view, you see I want this to kind of read well and look nice. And it's very much just judging. Kind of just what feels right in my eyes. Not that I know how these parts should come together, or how a weapon really works, or even how a proper designer, concept artist would make these. Very much just go by the feel. The reason I'm doing it in Blender is just because I kind of find it faster than even sketching, especially since I get a 3D shape, and I can see how big these parts are, how much these are protruding, or how it even looks if you look down the sides. Any areas like here, does this connect together, or is it thinner? And then later on, I did hide it. Oh, sorry, old age. And then later on, I'm starting to put it in a grip, so I can make sure that it works comfortably, because I believe with this one I had to change it quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but you see here it goes down straight, because I really like the simple square shape in the design here. But here I made a little angle on the handle, because it looked really awkward if it was all straight, just to kind of hold it, very much like a toy. Alright, these again, that's just a little sneak peek for you. So yeah, if you can get a hand to hold it, you can judge a bit easier if it's gonna be comfortable. I'm not even sure, I've never done it with this one, so it could be really awkward to fit in 3 fingers in there. But oh well. Anyway, in Blender here, it's really just very simple modeling, and then I'm using the bool tool, which you can add-ons. It comes with Blender, you just need to activate it. And then, so let's see, if I have a cube or anything, whatever, I can select the cube, I can select the object, and I will press Ctrl-. Let me see if I have the shortcut via start it. So undo. Okay, so select this, select that, Ctrl-, and there you go. And then you can move it around. Because what it does is just skips a few steps for you. Usually with Booleans, you'd have to go in, apply a Boolean modifier, then the object that select the object that you're using as Boolean and go into this object in the viewport display as bounds, because you don't want it to be displayed as solid, because so basically the Bool tools skips a lot of the steps that you would need to do, and you can just focus on more on the design than anything else. So as you see, these are all very, very simple. It's cylinders and boxes, bit of extrusion and some beveling. Control B. It's super simple technique. So even if you're not comfortable with Blender, you could pick it up really fast, or you can easily replicate it in other software. The one fancier bit here is these guys that I've done with an add-on, which is a paid one. But again, you don't need this. Like, I've had the add-on, I was playing around with it, and it's nice that I can connect these more complex meshes into the shape, but it's not necessary for the design. But if you're keen on it, the mesh, it's a mesh machine, and it has these plug libraries. So if I go in, if I go in here, you see like there's a bunch that it comes with. There's others you can buy or create your own. And say I select this guy, so it creates a little mesh that if I just drag anywhere I want, click on my mesh, and I do plug, and that's it. You see it's on a flat surface. It doesn't matter with the connections, but so it's kind of for this kind of concepting is just wonderful for really, really nice and quick results. So yeah, you see I've made these details from that just because it was so much quicker. But otherwise, you could just use very simple meshes like I did everywhere else. So I started on this side and then kind of up and down I went until I came up on this. With these, I've already started grasping that I do like the square. So I tried something completely weird, which I think was a bit also too similar to one of the references I've had. So then I went back to the square looking gun, which is nice because it's so simple, which usually kind of defines a good design for me as well. But this was good enough for me to go on and render out and then start painting over in Procreate. Because I kind of choose if I should do it in 2D or 3D depending on what's faster. And at some point, like at this stage, I felt that I'll be faster making decisions in 2D than in 3D, because I could set it up, do a render like this, and then draw over all the smaller little details that I might want to add. So let's take a look at that. I will let this time lapse run and then just chat about my thoughts. So I took a pretty thick brush just so I can't go into too much detail, and I'm just going over what is already there, but I'm also adding a few extra bits. You see like the buttons that you could have modeled as well, but again, it's so much faster to just try things out at this stage in 2D. So that's what I did. Little indents there, again, would be so easy to do with a Boolean that I've showed, but here I can just try one way, try another way, even though I felt like I'm getting pretty close, at least with the main shapes. So it's much more about the detailing and making it kind of feel a bit believable as a weapon. So you'll see I'll go through a whole process of kind of one design, but then I showed it to my colleagues and got some feedback, and pretty much redesigned the insides of the shapes. So the first layer you saw was a bit more rough, where I'm quite literally just figuring out the design elements, and then I work over it again, making the lines more clean, so sort of to make a final concept, or what I thought was going to be a final concept, but it didn't end up being one. So it's very common for me to just kind of go over and then go over once again, and then if I need to, third or fourth time to reach the final. But with this one, I'm really trying to keep it simple. I know that I'm going to be doing it in 3D, so it's more of a just enjoying the process for myself here. I like to just kind of fill in the shape and then use clipping masks to paint inside the shape, so I don't have to worry about going over the lines or outside of the shape. So now you see where I'm starting to change things is after I've got the feedback, and I'll go to an image where I've written down all the things I've kind of talked about with my colleagues and what their feedback was. But now we're just gonna let it run through to reach the final design. And you can see the changes in real time. Mainly the feedback was that the initial design was too much, details for the sake of details. Nothing really made sense. Everything was just there because I've had a shape to fill in, which was very true because, again, I'm not a designer, as I was just doing it just to fill in those shapes, really. So in this second one, I started thinking a little bit more of what the functions could be, adding these little dials that could control, say, maybe the energy of the weapon, or just show the battery, and then things like that. So here I'm trying to reuse some of the final line art that I've had before and add all the new additions. I'm perfectly fine redoing things if I have to, because end of the day it's gonna end up better. So never worry about having to start over and just change as many things as I have to, because I know in the end of the day it's gonna give me a better result. So it's already looking like it makes a little bit more sense. I couldn't tell you what the cables do and what the dials do or the buttons, but I've had a very, very rough idea in my head that, hey, I need kind of this maybe for something, and then a few more for other bits and bobs, which makes it look a little bit nicer and also adds that sense of functionality. And just changing the angle, giving the handle an angle, made such a big difference. It's still roughly the square shape that I wanted in the very beginning, but also feels much more authentic. And this is the kind of this sketched over, written over file when I showed it to my colleagues and they gave me feedback. So I was on the spot, filling in some shapes and getting rid of stuff and adding new stuff straight away as they were giving me feedback. So the main, very big thing was think about the function. Again, it was detail because of detail, and it made no sense. It was just the random shapes filling in the clean shapes that I've had, and it just wasn't helping at all. I started doing little things that, oh, maybe this is a laser pointer. Maybe you need a better level if it is some sort of energy weapon. I've had the iron sights here and there's a random detail there. Maybe I don't need it. It's in the way of it, right? If you look down the sights, there's no need for the randomness that I've had in here, so I've blocked that in later on, added other things. All kinds of things that, well, made a lot of sense, but I alone couldn't see it. So it's really, really beneficial to show your work to somebody. And then this must, I like this because I thought it's kind of a quirky thing, that the weapon, is just so small. You could have it as a keychain or just hanging off your vest or something. But in the end, it just was a little weird. And again, where does this go? If this is here, does it go in here? How does it fit? All those kind of things. And at one point, I've also wanted to make it so functional that it could fold into a much smaller square, all the parts, but I kind of got rid of that idea. Sometimes you have to pick your battles, and I didn't want to figure out all that kind of transformation for this one. Yeah, but you saw how it ended up, and then after all that, I believe there we go. That's the final design that I went with, and it was just about picking up where I left off in Blender, because a lot of parts could be used to continue on and make it all in 3D. But that's for another time. Thank you, and goodbye.